watching Let's Chat.
You have heard us refer to this book a number of times as Building a Better Retirement. This is written by our friend Morgan Hill with Hill & Hill Financial, who coincidentally happens to be here right now, sitting to my left. Morgan, good to see you.
Always great to be here, and I always learn something when I'm on the show. You know, the robotics, Abbey Road, Samuel L. Jackson. This is a great show so far. Thanks for letting me be here.
Sure, thank you for coming. Stick around, you might learn a few other things.
I think I might.
Time for you to teach us a thing or two about estate planning. When you think about all of your stuff and who it's going to go to and that sort of thing, how are these assets categorized?
Yeah, great question. Too often we're so focused on getting to retirement that we don't think about the through and on the other side. And unfortunately, we deal with that. And again, it's kind of interesting. You've got some folks in the funeral home. It's not a fun time, but we want to make sure we leave that legacy. One of the things that we built was a very simple model called the Balanced Estate Planning Model. It's in the book. You might have a screenshot of it. But fundamentally, we all have stuff.
Right.
You got stuff. I've got stuff. Sometimes you got too much stuff. And it really falls into three big categories. You've got real property, tangible assets,
like
and
what?
Real property, obviously, home and land and whatnot. Tangible assets, the fishing poles, the cars, the China hutch that you inherited from your grandma.
Right.
And then you've got intangible assets, all those brokerage accounts and those types of things. The key thing for folks to know today is different, and I think it's up on the screen, different types of assets flow different types of ways to different folks. So how things pass to maybe a surviving spouse, radically different than how things might pass to children or friends, neighbors, nieces, nephews.
All right. How do you make sure that these assets, whether they are real, whether they're tangible or the intangibles or whatnot, how do you ensure properly, at a minimum of inconvenience to you, that they go to the right person?
Yeah, great question. The first thing is there's some things, and folks listening watching at home will know, that there's some things that move by contract. You have life insurance policies, IRAs, 401ks, things like that, where you name someone. One of the first things that we try to emphasize is, are there named people? Sometimes there are ex-people still on there. Sometimes it was left blank.
Yeah.
Sometimes people have passed away, and I've had it where folks, Chip, they just go, I don't want to change the name because then I'll be acknowledging that Fred's really gone.
Right.
So the first thing you want to make sure is you name people on those contracts. And then certainly we want to take a look at things like probate, wills, living wills, and those types of documents. And then we also talk about things that pass by law, and that can sometimes get confusing for folks.
All right, quick side question here. A lot of people do not go through life by their given name that their parents gave them at birth.
That's right.
Is it important that the person be named in the will or where it goes to with that name they were given at birth?
Sometimes the ladies have the toughest time with this because their maiden names, given names, if there was a divorce, what's the next name and what does the driver's license and the passport say? We certainly advocate, as we do work with wonderful licensed attorneys here in the Eastern Tennessee area, North Georgia. I have education in the area of law. I'm just not licensed as a practicing attorney. We always advocate whatever's on your driver's license currently, whatever's on your passport, make sure that all the names match, because the last thing you want when you're trying to get assets to those that you love is to create confusion by different names that could cause delays.
Including, and don't forget, if you're a second or a third or a junior or the fourth, make sure that that is included.
That's exactly right.
We've all heard the term probate. Many of us have gone through that. But break it down for us. What exactly is probate?
Probate's just an old Latin word. It means to prove. And it's been around for about 1,000 years as part of English legal history about when folks died, who could get what assets and how do things pass.
Right.
I have heard too often people either vilify probate or they make it, oh, it's no big deal. Probate is just a process, Chip, that's been around for about 1,000 years. Most of the time that people have trouble with probate is because they don't have the documents in place, they're incomplete, they're outdated, they might not be for the right state. And so the problems arise because of how they're managing probate. Probate, quite frankly, is simple and straightforward. And for most Tennesseans, most Georgians who would be watching today, it's not a big deal if you have all the documents in place and if they're up to date.
But obviously, as we have said before, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And with your help, we can get from point A to point B with a minimum of hassle, inconvenient, and all of that happens, or a lot of that happens during somewhat of a very emotional time.
You bet.
Obviously. Tell me how we can get a copy of the book, Building a Better Retirement.
Gosh, you can call, first of all, 1-800-887-9647 is our 1-800 number. We've got operators standing by. And then certainly on the screen, you say for those first 10 callers, happy to get a copy of that book out. If you're obviously here, our office is in Chattanooga. It's 423-855-0270. Easy enough, though. Just call that 1-800 number. Happy to get a copy of the book out.
And building the road to a better retirement is not as difficult as what a lot of people think.
And what we try to do is to try to demystify all the confusion around it and create a simpler path so that folks can actually feel confident to take steps to make sure they build the retirement they've been dreaming of.
And you do a great job of it.
Always
Morgan
a
Hill,
pleasure.
thanks so much. We will see you here over the coming weeks. Again, check out the website, hillandhillfinancial.com, hillandhillfinancial.com.